Did Lincoln Riley bench one of the top 5 returning quarterbacks in college football? Rece Davis from ESPN seems to think so.
You are Locked On USC, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Holkin, and thanks for making Locked On USC. It's part of the Locked On Network, your first listen every day. Whether you watch this show on YouTube, if you want to download this podcast and you just want to pick some platform, you can do it. And you know what? The show's always going to be free, and the show is always going to appreciate your support. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Depending on how productive USC's quarterback play is in 2025, that's going to determine how far this team goes. Whether they're going to be a 7-win, 8-win, 9, 10-win, or more team. As far as I'm concerned, it starts and ends at the quarterback position. Rece Davis, ESPN, College Game Day, been around forever. Seems to have his finger on the pulse of college football. Legend in his own mind, kind of like me. Anyways, Rece Davis, he thinks Miller Moss. Remember him? Remember Miller, USC starting quarterback last year? Rece Davis believes that Miller is going to be one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the country in 2025. And he also believes he got the short end of the stick while he was USC's quarterback last year. Rece apparently felt that Moss he was kind of left hanging. Took the brunt of the rap, I guess. Coach Riley, once you bench your starting quarterback, all eyes turn there. So, in Rece Davis's mind, Lincoln Riley gave Miller the short end of the stick. And that eventually led to, obviously, Miller jumped in the transfer portal, and now he's at Louisville. So, last year as USC starter, Miller Moss, he wasn't bad. I mean, almost 65% of his passes were completed. It was good enough for 2,555 yards, 18 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Remember, that was his first time starting at USC. He was there during the Clay Helton era. Lincoln Riley shows up, brings Caleb Williams along. Process starts all over again. So he sat, he bided his time, put in the work, and boom. Caleb, won the Heisman, eventually went off to the NFL. It was Miller's team in 2024, especially coming off of that Holiday Bowl performance where USC actually beat Louisville and handled them rather easily. So Miller made an impression on Jeff Braun, the coach at Louisville, who was also considered, one of the top quarterback coaches in the country. So 18 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Miller started the first 9 games. 2 touchdowns per game. But that average is also 1 interception per game. So he wasn't terrible. You like the 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. Talked about that earlier this week. What makes an elite quarterback. So while it wasn't, great, it was enough for Coach Riley to say, you know what? We got to go a different direction. We're not getting the job done. And for me, it wasn't so much the interceptions themselves, as much as when they were being thrown. And I think that was the bottom line. That was the deciding factor for Coach Riley when he finally said, you know what? I got to make a decision. I got to make a change. Because it's not the 9 interceptions. It's when they were happening. And the results that usually followed afterwards, which was USC losing close games. At some point, you got to say, well, where's the difference? Once Coach Riley made that change, there's no going back. You had to stick with Jaden Mayava. Otherwise, you're now going deeper into the roster. And now you're talking, you're getting into the walk-ons. So Miller, he had that 9-game tryout. He was struggling to win close games. However, since he's committed to Louisville, to the Cardinals, Rece believes that Moss is going to become productive again. He's going to shake off all those bad vibes, and he's going to do really well. Being coached up by Jeff Brom, who's again, he's a quarterback coach by nature, and Rece Davis seems to think that he's going to have a positive influence, a positive effect on Miller's maturation. Let me read you what Rece said. I think Moss got the short end of the stick at USC last year. I think they kind of jobbed him when they took him off the field. I think getting with Jeff Brom in that system is really going to fit his skill set. I know Lincoln Riley is quarterback friendly and all that, but I think that Brom has done such a great job with quarterbacks that he can do for Miller Moss what he did for Tyler Show. I'm going to go with Miller Moss as a bit of a surprise at number 5 for my top 5 quarterbacks for the upcoming season. And you're saying, well, who are the other 4? If Miller's number 5, who are the other 4? Number 1, he's going with Texas quarterback Arch Manning. Number 2, you've got Garrett Nussmeier at LSU. Makes sense. I would probably have him higher since this is his 3rd year as a starter. Arch Manning was a part-time starter last year. Number 3, can't skip over Cabe Klubnik, Clemson. Number 4, he has South Carolina quarterback Lenoris Sellers. I think everybody is just enthralled with that young man's athleticism. These untrained eyes, they need to see more of him as an actual playing quarterback, owning the position, and not just taking off and running when he doesn't feel like throwing the ball. And then, obviously, number 5, you got Louisville's Miller Moss. Here's what I'm going to say. If Jaden Mayaba is not more active running the ball in 2025, seriously, what's the point of swapping quarterbacks? I remember before last season started, Coach Riley said, look, there's not a lot of difference between Miller Moss and Jaden Mayaba. They're very similar. Everyone, in the back of everyone's minds, like, well, no, Jaden's probably a little bit more athletic. We've seen his film when he was at UNLV. We know he can run. Let's see him inject some of that when you put him on the field. That never happened. It never materialized. Coach Riley said, this spring that last year, Jaden was nursing an injury. So be it. So I guess my question is, and I think what everybody's looking at this year, if Lincoln Riley is that quarterback guru, that quarterback whisperer, and he's got the resume, okay? I'm not saying he doesn't know what he's doing. It's not what I'm trying to say at all. But there are others out there who are starting to kind of shine the light, and they're trying to see if the shine is maybe coming off the quarterback whisperer a little bit. Look, I know it's all speculation, and the schedules aren't the same level of difficulty. USC plays in the big conference. Louisville's in the ACC. Not quite as deep from top to bottom. So I can see where Rece is coming from. Hey, you know what? Because of the way the schedules are set up, the competition, Miller Moss could have that bounce back year. He could be, one of those top 5 quarterbacks in college football. I get it. I'm a huge Miller Moss fan. I was disappointed in how the season ended last year and how it ended for him, because I know, the character, his work ethic, everything he put in. But, it's a business. Lincoln Riley's trying to do whatever he can to spark some wins. And a lot of times that means, making a change at quarterback. But again, how's it going to look? What will the optics look like if Miller has a great season at Louisville, and meanwhile, Jaden Mayaba, what happens if he takes more time to reach his potential? I guess that's the best way of putting it. I've already talked about how USC's schedule this year sets up for them to level up, get the confidence, do what they need to do. I've talked about that with the offensive line. how they can use those first 3 games to kind of find their groove. 5 pieces, 5 spots on the line working together as one. I talked about the defense. They get first half figured out against Missouri State because you're going to be that good this year. You don't need any longer than that. What about Jaden? Should he be ready to go right out of the box, or does he need to be on that same timetable as the offensive line? Give him 3 games. Let him figure it out. I hope we're not there, because if we are, it's going to be a long season. USC should always have one of the top 5 returning college quarterbacks. Period. End of story. As far as I'm concerned. I mean, before Lincoln Riley, after Lincoln Riley, USC should always have one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the country every year. All right. So Rece Davis, there you go. USC, he says USC had, well, maybe Miller Moss wasn't a top 5 quarterback at USC, but would he be if he came back this year with the Trojans? Or is this just another one of those, let's find some sort of negative angle and throw it at USC and see what sticks? We're going to find out. I'm hoping Miller Moss has a strong season at Louisville. Wish nothing but the best for that young man. I also hope USC and Jaden Mayaba have a better season. That way they can play each other in the playoffs. Wouldn't that be a storyline? We'll see what happens. We got a couple more segments to go, as you can see on the rundown. Speaking of Coach Riley, is he under pressure to win? That's a rhetorical question. Of course he is. I'm going to tell you about some of the things that everyone's looking at with Coach Riley. And then the third segment, usually my Friday rant, I got something that's a little bit more important. I want to share it with you. Might even be a little emotional, so stick around. Have you decided at the last minute? Have you ever decided, all of a sudden, last minute spontaneity? Hey, let's go to the ball game. Well, maybe it's game day. You suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you know what? You can actually splurge on some extra food at the game, get some drinks, merchandise. Yeah, who wants a hat, jersey? You can even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes it possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app, on the Game Time app, they actually drop the closer you get to the first pitch of the game. And they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On and Major League Baseball, which is going to make it easy to browse the app for an exciting upcoming Major League Baseball game. Did you know, Dodger fans, Doyer fans, the Chicago White Sox are in town next week, right before July 4th? Give it a try. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms will apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, and you're going to get $20 off. Download the Game Time app, last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. So, Pro Football Focus, they ignited a little bit of an off-season discussion, and they picked, I think it was five fan bases. Anyways, caught my attention, so we're talking about it here. Excuse me. So there was a handful of fan bases, I think 5. USC is one of them, who were recently ranked among the college football programs facing the most pressure entering the 2025 season. USC, Auburn, Florida, Florida State, and Oklahoma are all in the top 5 most pressured schools, each which enters the upcoming season with heightened expectations and growing scrutiny. USC Trojans were recently ranked among college football programs facing the most pressure entering the 2025 season. I just read that to you. I apologize. As far as Coach Riley is concerned, the pressure feels especially urgent. Look, I've been one of his, I guess we'll call it his harshest critics. I have no problem critiquing what I see with these eyes. Look, first year, fantastic. Roller coaster ride, 11 wins, Heisman Trophy, almost made the college football playoffs for the first time. But after that, yeah, it's been, just kind of a couple of back-to-back ho-hum seasons. 8-5, 7-6. That doesn't get it done. USC has not won a conference championship, and I get it. This will be their second year in the big conference. But when they were a member of the Pac-12, the last time they won the conference was 2017. That was with Sam Darnold. Remember the Rose Bowl, the comeback win, the great win against Penn State? Matt Bormeister running off the field with the game-winning field goal? It's been that long. And as I said, USC's coming off 2 back-to-back mediocre seasons. And I'm being kind when I say mediocre. That's not the USC standard. They're coming up way short of their goals. So now, USC, they've moved to the big conference. They're making all that extra money. Recruiting's picked up, which is great. We love that. Been talking about it all off season. But nationally, Coach Riley's got to prove, he's got to show why USC has invested so much into him, into the program. So Coach Riley, he enters the 2025 campaign. He's got a reshaped roster. We know the 2026 recruiting class is fantastic. That's not going to help them this year, but it's all part of the optics. Defense last year, huge. Everyone anticipates them taking another step in the right direction with the defense. I mean, last year they went from allowing 34 points per game to 24 points per game. Do that again. Get another 10-point improvement. That might be asking a little bit too much, but if USC is giving up 14 points per game, there's not going to be any pressure on Coach Riley because USC is going to be winning every game they play. That's fine. That's how you handle pressure. Just keep getting better. I think everyone is hoping, that as long as the defense continues its trend, its upward trajectory, I think everyone's assuming that the offense is going to kind of reload, despite losing some players during the offseason, like a top 5 quarterback in Miller Moss. Look, I've talked about this ad nauseum. Last year, I thought the defense was good enough. Just gave it 24 points per game. This year, they're going to be even better. More players, more quality players, depth where you need it. USC's defense is in great shape, and I think the offense is going to be better as well. Kobe Lane, Mekhi Lemon, brought in maybe Utah's best wide receiver, Zacharias Williams. So as long as the offense just plays up to their potential, they don't stumble, they don't turn the ball over at the worst time, I think they're going to be fine. The defense, again, I don't see them taking a step back. In fact, I see them getting better, not just statistically, but also physically. I think this season you're going to see a much bigger, more physical team. And that's also going to be a big benefit. Take some of the pressure off. That's been the entire emphasis all offseason. Get bigger and stronger. They replaced a couple of coaches on the defensive side of the ball. Matt Entz, because he took the head coaching job at Fresno State. They brought in a true cornerbacks coach in Trevon Reed, who was mentored by Pete Carroll. Rob Ryan, he is the linebacker coach. But that wasn't the end of it. This is all about bringing in a new philosophy, a new culture, a new mindset, new ideas. So they brought in strength and conditioning coach Trumaine Carroll, and he's been given one task. Let's make these guys tougher and more physical. Coach Riley apparently was really impressed with what Coach Carroll was able to do at Kansas State. And Kansas State is always one of those programs. They're never going to have as much talent as a USC or an Ohio State, those types of programs. But they always play hard. They always play hard-nosed football. They're always a physical team. Maybe that's the missing ingredient. That was the last step in USC returning to prominence, getting that physicality back. If USC does all of that, they bring back the physicality, the defense takes another step, the offense just plays to its potential. There's not going to be any pressure on USC other than to win every game, which we know that's really difficult. But yeah, if you improve points per game allowed by another, just say 5 points, 7 points. All right. Jaden Mayaba finds his groove. The running game is working. You get lucky here and there. There you go. Pressure's off. Pressure's off. But right now, I mean, you don't want to be in the same conversation with Florida, with Oklahoma, with Auburn. I mean, Florida's head coach, Billy Napier, if DJ Lagway, their quarterback, doesn't save his job, he's gone. Brent Venables, he's not getting the job done at Oklahoma. Remember, that's where Coach Riley was before. Gene Chizik over there at Auburn, whatever. And I don't know what Mike Norvell's doing there at Florida State. I mean, I don't know how you go from the year before when you were undefeated until your quarterback, went down, keeping you out of the playoffs, to barely winning any games last year. I mean, they went from penthouse to the outhouse. USC is kind of like on, if there's a penthouse and there's a basement, USC resides right now somewhere on, I don't know, floor 12. And we're talking about a 50-story building. So they need to start moving up. They need to start acting like the Jeffersons. All right. One more segment to go. This one, I might get a little emotional. So if you see me chopping onions, you'll understand why. Typically, my Friday rant, that's to get something off my chest. I wanted to change it up this week, and I'll tell you why coming up. So it's Friday, third segment of the show, end of the week. I always like to, give a little Friday rant, a little vent, get something off my chest that's been bugging me. Well, it's been a pretty good week. And I said, you know what? Let's take a week. Let's take 1 week, take a break, do something a little different. And this was the perfect timing was perfect. Excuse me. One of the things that often gets overlooked when we talk about USC athletes, football specifically, it's the character of the players. The character of the players when they're away from football, behind the scenes type of stuff. Sometimes you don't even hear about it. Their philanthropic side of them, when they give back, where they pay it forward, where they're regular people. They do things that you and I do. Doesn't require a lot of headlines or a camera. I love it when they give back and say thanks and go that extra mile, especially when the situation calls for it, like this. So one of my everydayers, he sent me a really heartwarming email. Had me in tears by the end of it. So for those of you who have kids, I don't care how old they are, how young they are, how old they are, make sure you hug them the first chance you get. Really. Even if you're mad at them, you still love them. Trust me. By the time I'm done with this email, you're going to be probably calling them on the phone. And for those of you like me who haven't been blessed with any kids, Do me a favor. Just take a few moments to think about what's really important in life. So I asked Henry if it would be okay if I shared his email, and he said yes. So here we go. Thanks, Mark. I've been an everyday listener, viewer of your podcast for a while now. I listen to your podcast on my iPhone while eating breakfast every morning. I'm a big USC fan, even though I didn't go to USC, but graduated from Cal State Fullerton. They never had a football team, so I became a Trojan fan since the days of Mike Garrett, O.J. Simpson, Anthony Davis. You can say he goes back. When my son Michael got diagnosed with cancer, we got to meet Pat Hayden at Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. He came over with a couple of his football players. Michael met many celebrities, including movie stars, TV stars, singers, athletes, everybody. Michael thought about going to USC if we could afford it. During that meeting, a match was made for Matt Barkley to be his mentor. When Matt graduated and was drafted, he passed the torch to Cody Kessler. Cody was in constant communication with Michael. He came to our house in Corona, bought him gifts, a USC football autographed by as many of his teammates that he could find after practice. He also gave him a cardinal and gold blanket. He posted a very nice message on Instagram the very next day. Unfortunately, our son passed away 1 month before his 18th birthday. After making arrangements for his funeral, I asked Cody if he wanted to be one of the eulogy speakers. He agreed, and I placed him last to speak as he barely made it in time. He had practiced earlier that morning, had to shower, get dressed up in black, travel from USC down to Corona. After the service, he agreed to be one of the pallbearers. We had a mini service at Riverside National Cemetery before the pallbearers took the casket to the gravesite. So now Cody was even further away from LA, which I know we didn't mind, but I very much appreciated everything he did for Michael. I wish I could talk to them and tell them they're in my book. I know they are busy in their lives and have moved on as I have, like the title of my book, My Life Will Go On. My life will go on, but Michael will not be forgotten. He told me before he passed away to write the book about my life, his mother, and what happened to his sister and him. I'm not a writer, and it took me 10 years to write and publish it, and now I'm an author. So I thought I would share this information with you, Mark. Thanks for reading my email. Wow. Henry didn't lose just one child to cancer. He lost 2 kids. So I know why this touched my heart. I've never been blessed with children. I've coached. I love kids. But I think I felt I really needed to share this with everyone. Just to kind of put everything into perspective. Okay, we get all tied up in knots. We really do. Over football, winning, recruiting, pointing our fingers at looking for someone to blame. Look, I don't care how many games or touchdowns Matt Barkley, or specifically in this case, Cody Kessler, won or threw at USC. Doesn't matter to me. This is going to be my favorite memory of Cody Kessler. Like I said, I can't imagine the pain that Henry must feel. In the cycle of life, parent is not supposed to bury their child. It's the other way around. And to have to do it twice. But again, it just shows you the type of character, the type of, the people that come through the halls of USC. So again, I thought I'd share this, get a little emotional with you, and tell me what you think. Remember, you have kids. I don't care if they pissed you off today or last week, whatever. Hug them, call them. And then when we're watching USC football together this year, it's okay to get upset, but try not to get too upset. Keep it in perspective because they're human too. You don't know what's going on in their lives. We don't know what's going on in anybody's lives. So take the time to appreciate everything. All right, that's it. I'm chopping onions over here again. That's it for this show. I'll be back again next week with another 5 episodes. In the meantime, don't forget, get on over there to wearesc.com. Check out Brian Smith, the portal. part of the Locked On Network on YouTube. It'll get you caught up on what's going on across college football. I'll keep you going with USC football. So until that next episode, everyone, you know what to do.